Yeah.
Oh. Okay, good deal.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Store it, sell the tires and the equipment that services it.
All private ranches.
Yeah.
Right.
Straight up? Straight up. All right. Well, we'll call the meeting to order. Would you please join me in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
And would you please take roll?
Councilman Madsen?
Here.
Councilman Montoya?
Here.
Councilman Kaufman?
Here.
Councilman Allison?
Here.
Mayor Grace?
Here. You have before you an agenda, I believe as presented for a change. So I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion will carry. You also have the consent agenda items, either paper or electronic. For the purpose of discussion, I would entertain a motion to approve and place to record the consent agenda items.
Make motion to accept consent agenda.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion on the consent agenda items?
Cool.
Tracy,
Travel. Utah. Graduation.
I've got a question, Chief Willetton. Can you talk to the spike in the overtime?
Yeah, that's coming from the K-9 training up in Casper with Sergeant Mensauce, getting ready for certification. So they're just putting in 15-hour days some days, a lot of hours just getting ready to get certified. Unfortunately, since it's 5 days of training and then he's home for 2 days, I don't have the chance to have him burn that off where I can just give him days off. He's back up in training, back up there on Monday.
So does that include travel time or the 5 days he's up there? It's 12
So
hour
up there
days.
for 5 days. Yeah.
Is the training complete?
Not yet. It should be done. I think he's got 2 more weeks after this week.
2 more weeks, so 2 more 60+ hour weeks.
I can't answer that. I don't know how many hours he'll put in.
Schedule? I mean, I was just, none of this came, brought up to us when we thought, we were getting a dog, we were going to be fine under the claim
Mhm.
with the dog, and now it seems like a better word, I mean, unforeseen, well, not unforeseen. I would have thought there had been a plan or a schedule. I mean, this is major overtime, and then we got two more pay periods.
No, it is a lot of overtime. Best I can say is the dog's young. They're having some issues getting all the dogs up, so that's why they're putting in extra hours. None of them were planning on doing that, but all the dogs, when I went up there and saw the training while I was in Casper, all the dogs are having a little bit of struggle, so they have to put in extra hours.
Okay.
One thing that I would really like to call some attention to in the clerk's report or the administration report, on the back page, if you'll look under miscellaneous, we had some burrowing pest and rodent control done by a local area business, and they chose to waive their fees. They just did it as like a community service. So if you see Nick or Kayla Mantle around, thank them for their service, because that's, every little bit always helps. And it's sometimes pretty neat when our own give back like that. So. I guess also another informational piece would be the 16th Street Improvement Project. There's going to be an open house that I guess will kind of delineate, discuss, lay out what that project is going to look like on Thursday, May 25th at the First State Bank Conference Center, for those of you that are either affected or interested in talking to the people that will be doing the job. This is an opportunity. Nothing else, guys? All right, hearing no further discussion, all in favor of approving the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion will carry. Moving on to petitions, memorials, proclamations, and public comments. Item number 1, we have the Wyoming Community Gas. We have a check. I think Lorraine Albright has the check, and a little blurb, and if I miss anything, fill the gaps for me, guys. The Wyoming Community Gas Program is a It's a program where they recruit or encourage the gas users of the town to sign up for the Choice Gas program. And part of that is given back to the town of Wheatland for their buy-in or partnership with Wyoming Community Gas. And so we get a commodity distribution check, I think is the name for the check that we get. And this year, due to the hard work of Lorraine and Darcy in the office and sharing that story with the people that call and ask questions and even doing some recruitment efforts, they were able to get a $10,236.14 return to the town of Wheatland. And typically those funds are used for community projects. We've done like the dog park, help fund the miniature golf course, toys and playground equipment in the city parks. Try to, what's that? Oh, pickleball courts. Try to always use those funds for a community development project that is for the betterment of where you can touch the most people in the community. And so, Lorraine, if you come up, I'd like to shake your hand and thank you for your efforts, and you can present the check.
Mayor, can I say one thing?
Absolutely.
So this check was for work done last March, a year ago.
It's always,
Lorraine was 100% alone doing that project that year. So
100% on you. Well, thank
100%
you.
on you.
So anyway, we got a photo op for Tab, so we thank you for your dedication and your work in securing the funds to give back to the community.
Thank you. Thanks, Lorraine.
And there's no other agenda items, and with Tracy out of town on travel, we don't get her update. So is there any other public comment at this time?
Yeah, I think y'all know me, George Pyle. I live up on the corner of 31st and Ponderosa. We've got a street light that's been out for close to 5 months now. And that corner it's going into summer and the people are gonna be walking, kids are gonna be out playing, it's gonna get dangerous. And I don't wanna see anybody hurt. We've got a couple people up there kind of a little less desirable than what we'd like to have for neighbors. And I don't trust one of them worth a hoot. Not gonna mention names, but I'd like to get a street light. But I keep hearing that it's back ordered. They're back ordered. The parks are back ordered. The lights are back ordered. But isn't there something they can do? Put up a light in the interim, just to light that corner up.
Well, I do know that you are one of many that have that same concern, and I know that we do have lights on order. Trying to be good stewards of the money and go with the latest, greatest technology, for the taxpayers, that gives us the best light. And to this point, I guess we've held to that, but we could certainly entertain visiting with the new department head of the electric department to see if there's something he could do in the interim, I guess. But
Well, I was wondering if they had any old lights laying around, just something they can hang on that pole and get some kind of light out there. Other than being on the ladder and hanging the halogen out there.
Is it just the bulb that's out?
well,
I don't know what's all out.
I know on some of the other locations, I can't speak to that particular location, that the combination of needing more than just a photo cell eye or a bulb. I mean, if there's a combination of parts, they're trying to upgrade the light. So
Right, it was upgraded 2 years ago.
And
Can't
so,
tell you exactly when, I wasn't paying that much attention, I just noticed it was a little nicer looking light. I don't really care if they're nice or not, just as long as they light up. I just wanted to bring it to your attention and see if there ain't something we could do to get some light up there.
I appreciate it, George.
Thank you.
Nice if there was someone over there.
Make your job easier.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Drop in here as well.
Making my job easier, I wanted to shoot that something's up there.
Is there any way that the head of the department can check it out and then give George a call and let him know what's
I'll
up?
talk to Kristen.
So that way they let you know what's happening.
Appreciate it.
Public comment.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
council members, Bill Britz, resident. I have wanted to engage you or indulge you with a picture of one of the beautiful murals that we have around town. This one's on the side of the Fabian building. Describes or shows an interesting historic depiction of the Globe Hotel, formerly an edifice here in our town. But what I want to point out to you guys on this photograph, if you go over there and you look at it, this picture describes a 100-year-old problem that this town has not been rectified. And I'm being a little facetious. If you'll notice, I know it's kind of small for you guys. If you want to look at it a little more closely, you can look at it. Feel free to slide that around. Two gentlemen in the picture riding bicycles. However, you can see they're in a quandary because they have no place to park their bicycles. This town has a dearth of bicycle racks, bicycle locking locations. I travel quite a bit, as you all know. I see big cities, I see small cities. Laramie's an excellent example. They have wonderful artistic methods for locking up bicycles. And the reason it becomes important to me personally is because my wife and I invested in a couple of bicycles last summer. So, you know, when the gas prices were getting pretty high, we decided, well, we'll just ride our bikes to work, back and forth to work, because we're not that far. So we decided to do that. And as we're riding around town, we go to Safeway or go to Food Pride or whatever and come here to Town Hall. Got no place to lock my bike. Went to the parade, went to some of the activities downtown. No place to lock your bike. So, you know, we're a pretty safe town, but it's kind of, we spend a lot of money on our bicycles. We like to have a little security with them. So I know you guys are getting close to, very close to budget sessions. And my suggestion to you is would just consider maybe $5,000 or so to Main Street Group for the purpose of installing bicycle racks around town. And that is the entirety of my conversation with you. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thanks, Bill.
It's actually a,
Good idea.
yeah, it's a really good idea. I wondered what it would take to get, what do you call them, the birds? A company to put some of those here, because I know when we're baseballing in Casper, Laramie, Cheyenne, whatever, my kids, they have their little card and they prefer to go do that rather than.
Oh, the birds? Well, let me tell you something about birds before, if you're thinking about that.
Well, something, you know.
I guess I wouldn't recommend that as a liability issue for the town, because they have high rate of accidents, broken arms, broken collarbones, knees, because they're difficult to operate. And a lot of the times people operate them when they're coming out of the bar. So I've read a lot about those things. They're not, I guess I wouldn't recommend them. It's too much of a liability. But, you know, Laramie, just a follow-up, they actually, some of their, well, let's see, in Manhattan too, as a matter of fact, they did an art contest. And some of the bike racks that you see around Manhattan are like museum quality bike racks. They did a contest and the artists came up with the design for the racks. That's what they put in.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah, that.
Any other public comment at this time? Hearing none, we'll move on to unfinished business item number 1, which is ordinance 841, an ordinance increasing water rates for residential and commercial users on third reading.
Mayor, in light of, we had some last minute information come in, and I think fairness to reply to the inquiries that there are some validities to some of the questions, and fairness to legal counsel, hadn't had time to look into it. We did start budget 5 o'clock today, so fairness to the clerk too, everybody getting a chance to spend some time and look at these inquiries, questions. Like I said, fairness to all parties involved, I'd like to make a motion to table this and then bring it up at the next meeting or special meeting as so fit and time permits.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Ordinance 842, an ordinance repealing section 805 dot 020 and 805.030 and 805.040 of the Wheatland Municipal Code and replacing section 02, 03, and 040 by adopting and establishing an effective date of the 2021 edition of the International Property Maintenance Code on second reading. Man, that was a mouthful. Would entertain a motion for second reading.
Make a motion to pass the unfinished business section 2. Ordinance 842.
Cheater.
And I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there further discussion on ordinance 842, second reading? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion will carry. Moving on to new business, ordinance 843, which is a franchise agreement with Mountain West Technologies on first reading.
Mr. Mayor, it's another communication franchise agreement with Mountain West. They proposed it. I don't know how many places we're going to have all this. Sometime either our lines or our sections are going to be full. That's my only concern with this. We have one company now putting it in. We only have so much in our easement. Except our franchise agreements can't be exclusive. They have to be non-exclusive. And but that does cause me some concerns. We made some changes through it that they have to, because we had some issues with past ones where they have to replace, they dig a hole in our concrete, break up the concrete or break up the street. They have to replace it to our satisfaction. We had some issues with them. Other ones just putting in the mix, and so and if they don't do it, then they're obligated to pay us if we go and patch it. That's the one change that we provided in this. So like I said, I'm more concerned that eventually we don't have room for all of these facilities. Holes, that may already be an issue, quite frank, but they'll have to deal with it. So those were my concerns. Those are the changes we made in the agreement. They presented this. They pretty much followed our other franchise agreements that we have. So that's where we're at on this.
Mayor, we have representatives from Mountain West here.
If you'd like to speak, go to the podium, please.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. My name is Kyle Ridgway. I'm the president of Mountain West Technologies Corporation, which is based out of Casper, Wyoming. I'm a lifelong resident of Casper, born and raised. Mountain West, the only issue I would take with the presentation from the good city attorney is that we're not just another telecommunications company. We partnered with BJ Axford, a Wyoming resident, Wheatland citizen for a long time, who had Wyoming wireless internet here in the Wheatland and Platte County area, who has approximately 1,300 customers in the area. You guys all know BJ by reputation and individually is a good, hardworking guy who's done the right thing for his community. When it became time for him to deal with the other telecommunication companies, either in the area or ones that eyed this community, BJ had a choice, and that was he was either going to have to go find a bunch of money to upgrade his network, or he was going to have to find the right partner. And he chose our organization. And DJ can talk about that more, but the reason he chose our organization is because we're part of the 307 First family of companies, which is committed to invest in Wyoming companies. Our companies are 100% owned in Wyoming from an equity perspective. They're operated in Wyoming, they're headquartered in Wyoming. We have the Steel Silhouette project that we've done around the state to emphasize that mission with our lobbying efforts in the legislature to make sure we're preferring local residents, local contractors, doing business locally as much as we possibly can. And so we saw BJ as a great opportunity to meet our mission statement, and that is to bring, some of the capital and the leverage that we have to great local operators that just need a chance to compete with the big guys that are out of state. And so we're here to continue to do that. We've partnered with BJ. BJ's been part of our family for about 6 months, and in 6 months we've spent several $100,000 to upgrade his network from the ground up. We'll be fully complete upgrading all of his towers by the end of this month. You've probably seen some of our trucks around town going and upgrading the towers. And so this is the next phase of our rollout to the community, and it's all about servicing the customers that we have. We want to expand our services, but we want to continue to service them locally out of the call center in Casper. We worked really hard to try to hire people here in Wheatland specifically to work with DJ so we can build a team out that's more robust, boots on the ground here. So far, we've serviced everybody either rolling from Cheyenne or rolling from Casper. But we want to have some people physically in Wheatland, and we'll be doing that over the course of the summer as we continue to upgrade the network. This is the next step. What this agreement allows us to do is to use the town's rights of way and the town's poles to bring fiber to certain areas and continue to back our network up. And I understand the city attorney's concerns about the rights of way and the poles being full. We're in this for the benefit of the community. We don't want to overbuild stuff unnecessarily. There are certain parts of the town that we can use to back our network up, but we also still have to get permits every time that we want to drill or every time that we want to pole attach. And so as part of any permit application that we have to do with the town and working with your engineer or the town planner, they've got to take into account how much space is available in those rights of way. We have our own drilling crews inside of the company that we use, and we only use Wyoming-based subcontractors. So I thought the change that the city attorney made to shift that obligation to us to do the repairs, I think is more than appropriate. Frankly, seeing what's gone on in Casper, I think it's a great adjustment to the franchise agreement that if we don't do right by the town, you should be able to bill us to fix the road or to fix the alley. I think that's a great change. So mostly why I wanted to be here was just to give you guys a little bit of a face, and I can let BJ talk a little bit about how our partnerships work so far. I think we've done everything we told him we were going to do. He wanted to work with somebody to keep that was committed to Wheatland, was committed to being in Wyoming and keeping the money here and taking care of the customers the right way, which we think we've tried to do as best as we possibly can. And then I've got our head of business development, Leisha Thorvaldson, here with me, who just did a presentation to the Chamber of Commerce here a couple weeks ago about some of the work that we're doing. So we're excited to be here. We're excited to expand. There is a lot of money coming from the federal government to build out to underserved areas like Platte County. And so this is a step that we need to be able to participate in that process, either with the Connect Wyoming program that's coming, where the state's got $90 million that they're going to be giving out to internet providers to bring service to underserved areas. The state's supposed to get another $300 to $500 million from the federal government to bring broadband to underserved areas. Platte County is one of the worst served areas in the state of Wyoming. One of the other, we have a history in Platte County. We own a phone company as well. And we brought fiber to every structure in Chugler. And so we want to be in these areas that we feel like haven't been focused on by the bigger out-of-state players, and having a franchise agreement gives us an opportunity to bid on some of those federal dollars to expand services, because we can show we've got all the things we need in place to participate in that. And our perspective, people from Wyoming receive that money and bring that service than a big cable company. So anyway, the only other change that I would make, since this is the first reading, and this is my error, Mr. Weaver, is that on the headline, the title of the company is Mountain West Technologies, Inc., and it should be Mountain West Technologies Corporation. But otherwise, I'm happy to answer any questions about the company or anything that we're trying to do here in Wheatland, our history or otherwise. Otherwise, I can cede the floor to BJ to talk a little bit about what we've been doing here locally since we partnered with it.
On section 4, franchise fee, you agree Mountain West will pay the town of Wheatland 2% Mountain West gross revenue annually?
As it's defined in the appendix, yes. And so I should be clear about that because it's been an issue in a lot of these communities is what franchise fee are you actually legally allowed to levy? And we ran into this with the town of Evansville and in Torrington. Not us specifically as having an issue. Part of the reason that I'm aware of this issue is because prior to taking this role in 307 First, I was an attorney in Casper for 10 years. Represented some smaller towns. I represented the town of Wheatland. I did some work for some water and sewer districts. So the history of franchise agreements are that they were typically levied on cable television or phone lines, all of which were copper. Under the 1996 Federal Telecommunications Act, they exempted internet services as being able to be levied by a municipality. And so for internet customers, as I understand the current federal interpretation, we're not obligated to pay a franchise fee. But if we're using copper lines for phone services or for internet or whatever, we do. And that's maybe in an artful way to explain it. But what I will say, and so I don't anticipate that outside of some phone services that we would sell, that this would be a big revenue generator for the town. I don't want to come in and say, us having a franchise agreement to do internet is going to generate a bunch of revenue because as I understand how the federal law works, it won't. But what you are getting is you're allowing a player that's committed to the Wyoming ownership, that's committed to work with the local chamber, that's committed to employ people here and to try to do business the right way to be a partner. But I want to be transparent about that because it is confusing, and I have seen providers sort of mislead communities about the nature of the tax revenue that can be generated from these. But at the same time, if I was ever presented with, and part of this was we were actually paying our franchise fee in Evansville, even on internet, just because I wasn't aware of the 1996 Telecommunication Act and we wanted to do right by the town. And it wasn't until Lumen, which used to be referred to as CenturyLink or Quest, showed up when the town of Evansville wanted to levy them and brought their big national lawyers in and said, you can't do that. And everybody decided that that was not a situation anybody wanted to find themselves in, that the town didn't feel like they could in good faith levy us anymore because they couldn't do it to CenturyLink for their internet services. So that's sort of the history of my interaction with how federal law preempts it. But if, in working with the city attorney, that turns out to be a different direction, we're always happy to pay what we're legally obligated to pay for.
And I don't know if you understand, you'll have to enter into a separate pole attachment agreement because this doesn't allow you to attach to the poles.
Sure, and we don't intend to really need the poles or to use the poles. Because frankly, with the wind around here, it's not ideal to put fiber in the air anyway. It doesn't work well. We've had that experience in Chugwater. I know what it's like to live in a windy community like Casper. Everything that we've done has been underground or trenched or bored. So I don't anticipate that we need a pole attachment. If we do, we come back, but it would, as far as any plan that we potentially have, it would all be underground because it's better for the customer.
Doug, is there regarding repairing the damage? I mean, I understand the season, time of the year. Is there a duration on there? I can remember we had a street cut out by the nursing home that took a year or two to get that contractor to fix that.
That was the contractor for the nursing home. Don't want to blame.
No, but
I
it
think
takes a while, and I want to make sure that something just doesn't get sitting here. I mean,
I would
we're
assume
assuming
they
that
cut let's say a 5-foot square. And if it's in the middle of the winter, we're not going to put the asphalt back in. We're going to probably put what we normally put in a pothole and keep it maintained throughout. And either they will or we will in charge and maintain throughout the year. And then if it doesn't get pretty soon we're gonna be filling potholes and doing that. And at the same time, they're either gonna have to make a decision to do it or say town do it and bill it to us. You just have to look at it practically. Obviously, if we get some complaints, we're gonna get with them and say, go get it cleaned up, take care of it. Let's make sure it's squared away. Timeframes are hard just because of the time of the year, and then so if they're not responsive, I would tell you I'd just go fix it, and then send them a bill.
How well we told that other board outfit over there that tore up over there on the west side of West Elementary?
Can't tell you because I haven't heard about it, so I don't know
The
what we.
west.
County MCA's.
Oh, that's our electric project.
That's
That's a whole other.
That's not those guys, it's our electrical, the town of Wheatland's electrical.
That Black Mountain Phase 2 electric
It's our
upgrade.
electrical stuff, and we'll address that with the engineer, so.
That's a whole other.
Topic.
It's a whole different can of worms.
Okay.
It's not that we shouldn't address it and we shouldn't take care of it, it just is.
I have a question for BJ. So what services are going to be? What's this? What's going to be provided for the town of Wheatland exactly?
Well, I guess we're gonna, like the towers that we have in place now, have been upgraded to provide you with a lot faster speeds than what we were previously. Now, in your case, we weren't able to get service at your house.
Correct.
And currently we still have that option. But for the towers that are in place now, we do have options for a lot higher speeds and reliability. There's a lot more battery backup being put in place, newer equipment. It's just a lot better. The equipment in place, I guess. Yeah.
So will it, with everything put in place, like for my area, would I be able to get internet or still probably not?
Only if there was fiber ran over there currently. The technology we have is starting to go through trees a little bit better, but it's still not ideal.
Okay.
So we don't have anything in the wireless area to help you. But I guess if it became a large project with the fiber, then
Yeah, I mean, to add to what BJ said, I mean, a lot of the services that BJ was selling in the area, not to get overly technical, but I mean, his bread and butter plan was 10 megabytes down by 3 megabytes up. And now on all the towers, we can sell 100 down by 20 up. So that's a tenfold increase in speed down, and it's, about the same up. And that's a standard broadband definition under federal law. That's like what I get at my house. 20 up is difficult to get on old coax or old cable company lines, frankly. So in terms of wireless, we have expanded the wireless footprint mostly in the rural area. We're receiving some federal money to build out in the county and to expand a lot of service there. Here in Wheatland, we have a number of fiber projects that we want to look at. The analysis that we have to do is you're balancing what are the competitors doing in the area, because you've got to be able to make a business case for a particular neighborhood. And if someone else is already going to go there, to try to jump over the top of them and tear that neighborhood up twice is a tough deal. That actually happened in my neighborhood. We had 2 fiber providers go through my yard twice, and I don't wish that on anybody. So we don't want to do that, and so part of it is that. Part of it is there's federal money coming in 2 tranches over the next year to serve areas that have chronically poor internet. One tranche is coming in the next 30 to 60 days. We'll have some ideas of what areas are able to bid, and then in the next 9 to 10 months or so, they'll have that second tranche of money I was talking about. So in the next probably 12 to 18 months, we anticipate that we'll be bringing some fiber to the area to hit areas that we can't otherwise serve. But we're still in the planning process around which of those areas there would be. Typically, the way that we do that is we map out an area that we want to go to, and then we start working with either our crews or our preferred Wyoming-owned subcontractor that works in these communities We sit down with planning and zoning and the engineering department. We map the projects so everybody's on the same page. We do notifications to homeowners that we're coming into the area. We have our sign in the area. We try to sign people up as best as we can as we go. We do it once, we do it quality, and we leave the area and we move on. There is a big opportunity for fiber in the core areas that we can't currently hit with wireless in this community, for sure. It's just a matter of mapping what those areas are, given that you've got competitors that are doing things, and then you've got federal free money coming to do those kinds of things too. And so that's a balancing act that we've got to consistently evaluate. It's a nothing answer, but at the same time, we intend to bring fiber to the community. It's just a matter of picking out which areas make the most sense.
You said you guys are a partnership. Is that a figure of speech, or does Wyoming Wireless need to be on this?
Just Mountain West Technologies.
Would you be a point of contact if we have an issue with this
Definitely.
agreement?
Yep. I mean, I think all of you have my phone number. If you have any questions about anything or any concerns at any time, you can contact me directly. If I don't have the answers, I will get in touch with Kyle and we can get it resolved or get it figured out or answer the question anyway.
BJ's still the head of this market, knows it well, knows the people. We've relied on him to figure out what we can best do to create that relationship and continue to do the things that he did really well. Just support him in the efforts that he's always wanted to do to serve the community properly.
Thanks.
I mean, we're not stupid. I drove around here with BJ when we were looking at a transaction with him, and I didn't know if I was driving around with the mayor or the guy that sold internet, because every other car he was waving at somebody and everybody had a cell phone. And I mean, I gotta tell you, I don't want to, but I mean, you do everything that he did is basically a way and help. It's incredible. And it's one of the great things about living in Wyoming is that we've got people that try to do the right thing for these communities. As somebody that's grown up in families that have owned businesses in Wyoming for multiple generations, it's wonderful. I'm privileged to be trustee of this capital to try to help guys like BJ continue to grow their businesses here instead of selling it to somebody that's not going to do it right. So I take that responsibility heavily when I come to you and say, we're trying to do the right thing, just like what BJ did, and we're trying to bring as much help to him as we can to defend the territory that he spent 10 plus years developing.
Mayor, this ordinance is this pretty much word for word of what council had approved for visionary, except for the addition of the wording on 10.5, which we discussed already on fixing the streets and stuff.
Yep, I'd entertain a motion to,
Make a motion to approve ordinance number 843, Mountain West Technologies franchise agreement on first reading.
Second.
it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
Quickly. Sure. Bill Brent's resident. I'll stand in favor of the ordinance and hope that you vote for it. And I reject the attorney's comments out of hand, because as a citizen, I prefer to have options, competitive options. That's what our capitalist society is about. I want to have more options for internet service, because those options create competition, which lowers my price for my internet service and potentially improves the service that's being delivered, not just by Mountain West, but by Visionary, by CenturyLink, whoever. More competition means better service. More competition means lower prices. That's what I want as a resident. That's what I expect from you. Oh, and the idea that the town's utility poles can't hold the additional infrastructure, I reject. Because you need to figure it out. You need to make it happen. If there's an issue with the pole, you better fix it so that we can have the competition. It's just That's just not right.
All right, all in favor of ordinance 843 on first reading, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Oh, executive session.
Yeah, need an executive session on contracts.
Sometimes you just don't know what you're here to do.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Yes, thank you, BJ. And nice to meet you, Kyle.
Yes, yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks for all the talking.
Oh, no, I know you did.
Everything that we've been doing down there.
I have a question.
Owner,